Today I'm going to show you how to make one of my most viral cakes of all time, a lemon blueberry cake with a cream cheese frosting. We're going to add all the dry ingredients into a bowl and then make sure they're mixed up really well. We have our flour. You can use a gluten-free flour. If you do, I'd recommend to use a 1-to-1. That's what I'm using today. Or you can use an all-purpose flour. And then we have our baking powder, kosher salt, and baking soda. This one doesn't really want to come out, so let's do that. Now we want to mix this up really well. You could always do a flour sifter to really get those ingredients incorporated. I normally will do a sifter or something like that if we're getting into pastry, but when it comes to like day-to-day baking, personally, I try to make it as easy as possible so it's as enjoyable as possible. So it's more like baking therapy. Now we're going to start with our wet ingredients. I shouldn't say that we're doing all the wet ingredients and dry ingredients separate because we do have our sugar that we're going to put in with our wet ingredients. And this cake has two different options. You can either use butter that's been softened at room temp, or you can use a vegetable oil. Today I'm going to use vegetable oil because I've used up all my butter in the last 2 days making recipes. So we're going to add that in, add in our milk, three eggs, and typically when you're baking, you'll want to have your eggs at room temperature. You can use sour cream or you can use a unflavored Greek yogurt. This is going to give it a really good moisture. And then lastly is our lemon. So you're going to do right around 3 to 4 lemons depending on how juicy your lemons are, or you could always use a lemon juice. But we're going to start by zesting. This cake has a lot of lemon zest because we really want to infuse that flavor of the lemon. There's nothing more disappointing than a lemon cake that doesn't actually taste like lemon, because we're not using any extracts or anything like that in this cake. I really want that lemon flavor to just come through. Oh, fresh grated lemon is just so good. And then lastly is our lemon juice. These are some juicy lemons. It's already smelling so good. Making a hot mess over here. Now we're gonna mix everything together. You can always use a hand mixer. You can do a KitchenAid, which I swear that KitchenAid, that's the workhorse in this kitchen. We want this to be really smooth. Okay, pretty impressed with myself. I didn't make a huge mess on that. And this can be made in a 9x13 baking dish. You could do 2 8-inch cake pans, or if you wanted to do a different shape, you can always look at the measurements, and we just want to stick with right around those measurements. Okay, now we're just going to grab a spatula and run it along the edge. You can see there's some flour up here. We want to make sure all that's incorporated, and especially if you're using like a hand mixer or a stand mixer, throughout the process of mixing, you'll want to stop it, lift up the beater, and then scrape off that bottom, because sometimes especially like butter and stuff like that will get stuck at the bottom. Okay, you can see that is already getting light and fluffy, so we'll get those in our pans. You guys, I almost forgot the blueberries. This is a lemon blueberry cake. Although you could do, this is another really good base recipe. So you could always do like just a lemon cake, a lemon poppy seed cake, which a lemon poppy seed has been on my to-do list for a hot minute. And now just fold in those blueberries. And now we're gonna add it to our pans. Today I'm gonna do 2 8-inch round pans. You can butter them and then flour them, or you could use a non-stick baking spray. Now, if you're doing gluten-free with your baking spray, there's a lot on the market. So they do have specific ones that are gluten-free and then regular. And we're just splitting the batter in between both of these. Now we're gonna pop these in the oven at 350 degrees. Once they're done baking, we're gonna let them cool completely and we're gonna frost our cake. When the cakes come out of the oven, let them cool completely, and now we're gonna start the assembling. So you can either do 2 layers or you could do 4. If you were gonna do 4, you'd cut the cake right down the center. We're not gonna do that today. Today we're gonna do a traditional 2-layer cake. But you can see that this top is a little bit uneven. I like to trim this off so it makes assembly a little bit easier. Man, having it on the stand is almost my height. So with the frosting, I'm doing a cream cheese frosting and the recipe will be linked there. You could also do a vanilla frosting, a lemon frosting, a blueberry frosting, lots of different options. And if you didn't feel like making a homemade one, you could always do a store-bought frosting as well. I love having a few different frostings in the pantry. It's one of my favorite pantry staples, just because you never know, like if you need a dessert with a quickness, then having, or if you run out of butter like I did. I can't believe I ran out of butter. I almost ran out of eggs too. Okay, and we're gonna just do a thinner layer on that. Now, when you're doing a 2-layer versus a 4-layer cake, if you're doing the 4 layers where we would split this down the center, it's definitely going to be more sweet having more of that frosting in it. So, you know, whether you want to do 2 or 4 layers, maybe that's something to consider too. And for assembling, I like to flip the other cake so it would technically be like the bottom side up, because that's going to be really even from baking in the baking pan. Now we're going to frost all the way around the cake. I like to add the frosting on top and then work its way down. That first layer is what we would call a crumb layer. So it just helps keep all the crumbs in. Now you could do, I think they call it like a naked layer, where it's barely any frosting on the outside of it. It's a little bit more of a rustic look. Personally, I love it. I think it's really pretty, so I do a lot of my cakes like that. And then on top is where we're going to get just a little bit, I wouldn't say fancy, but do it a little bit pretty. Do some of those swirls on there. And I just take a spatula and just work it around. Just do little swoosh marks. And to the top, you could add some lemon if you want to do lemon zest, if you wanted to do lemon slices. I'm just going to add a few blueberries on top here. So whenever you're serving a dish, I love, just one of my favorite things to do is add kind of what's in that dish with it, if it's not super obvious. All right, let's go ahead and cut into her. I'm so excited. I'm so hungry. Look at that. Oh, you guys. You can see all those blueberries in there. This cake is moist. It is so delicious. Bursting with lemons, blueberries. I am dying to dig in. You guys are gonna love this cake. It has lemon, blueberry, cream cheese frosting. I mean, what better combo? It is crazy delicious. It's moist. It's a little bit fluffy. You gotta try it.
3 claps. Just, you know, ideally you're on camera when you do that, so I can make sure the sound matches up with the movement.
Want me to do it again?
Yes.
I feel like a monkey.
Yeah, have a smile on your face too next time. Or else.
Or else what? It's already 2 o'clock. This was supposed to be my day off. Shells in there, I'm not getting seeds in there, but it's definitely a, where am I going with that? Out, including the juice, the eggs, everything like that, but forget it. I don't know where I'm going.
On the bus to nowhere.
Yeah. I got a cut on my thingy. And the lemon juice just went in. Okay, pretty impressed with myself. I didn't make a huge mess on that. I spoke too soon, I made a mess.